does make you feel like you're part of an exclusive club, and this is just, it's even more exclusive, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
In the year 2010, a fascinating phenomenon unfolded in the realm of backyard sports. Across the Atlantic, two groups unknown to each other sparked a sporting revolution with a common element: the humble shed. American Shedball, characterized by its pageantry, drama, and skill, emerged from a blend of mini-hoop basketball and a shed. Meanwhile, in Romford, England, a chance broken window gave rise to a dynamic backyard soccer variant focused on targeting a shed window. Despite their initial popularity, both versions inexplicably faded into obscurity, becoming the stuff of legends, whispered in university hallways, dorm rooms, and youth groups. But then, 13 years after the phenomenon began, as the colors of fall faded and the winds of winter began to blow, the sun began to rise above the shed once more. In preparation for the comeback, the American and European founders connected online, leading to a historic first meeting. This meeting of pioneers from different continents celebrates a shared passion for their respective games and the sheds that inspired them. It's a story weaving together two sports, two cultures, and one unifying ethos: the Shedball mystique. Welcome to the much anticipated coming together Shedballs from across the pond. We've got the founders of American Shedball, Tim and Sam Whalen here, and we're joined by the founders of European Shedball, Will and Jack Target. Gentlemen, how are you doing today?
Very well, yeah. Very well, thank you. Yourselves?
So, I think the origin story here, the discovery is important to establish here. As we were beginning the early years of our sport, which happens to be kind of a mini hoop based sport of Shedball, we were going on and we were trying to establish all of our proper social media channels, and our name was taken. And I will say, disappointment, slowly gave way to rage when I realized that these guys had created Shedball in the UK, and they were promoting the sport, and it was going to be a major confusion to our fan base. But I will say this, in the weeks that's led up to this meeting, that hatred and vitriol has just dissipated into a tremendous respect. What you guys need to know, if you haven't already discovered this, is there's a thing called the Shedball mystique. And the Shedball mystique is that thing about a person that can allow them to take a sport that's invented or created, or some kind of thing like that, and turn it into the level of seriousness that you might find at the Final Four or the NFL draft or Augusta National. And I can attest that you guys have the Shedball mystique in spades, and that is just so encouraging and warms the heart that a sport on the other side of the world was founded with the same sort of passion and pageantry that we did. So guys, I don't want to take any more of your time. What I want to hear is the origins of European Shedball. Tell us the origin story.
I think it started around the 2010 FIFA World Cup. I think it was around that summer.
It was that summer, definitely.
That summer, and we had like a little shed type thing, like a kid's shed in the garden, and the window was slowly coming out of it.
Yeah, it was our childhood home, and I would go out there because we used to have like a full-sized soccer goal, and I would go out there and just kick the ball against it, and then the shed was sort of in the corner, and then once a shot must have accidentally deflected and it knocked a corner of the window out, and it wasn't proper glass, was it? It was like
plastic kind of like plastic, yeah.
And then I think somehow one or two of our dogs' toys had gotten out into the garden, so there was like a small sort of foam soccer ball, and so I started trying to kick that into the small gap of a window. And I think our dad came out and joined me, and we just sort of took turns just sort of trying to kick it against it, and then
the whole
over time the hole got bigger because we kept knocking more of it away, and then we just sort of, and then you sort of replaced dad and coming out and playing with me, and then we just sort of devised a rule system as
I feel like I did the very English thing of coming and saying, well, this is all well and good, but there's no rules, we might as well knock two of us. Write this
right.
down. Let's put things together. We'll get a thing in place.
And then we sort of built it up, and we would play games against each other routinely. And then we invited a bunch of friends over, sort of group friends who you went to school with, because we told them about it so much, and they would make fun of us religiously for it.
Yes.
And then they came round and played it and were instantly hooked.
Yeah. Exactly, and then it sort of started from there. So we should do a league, and then we got T-shirts, and the way it happens when you're of that age. It was about I was 20 around that sort of time. So I was in my 20s and early 20s. We were all.
I was 16.
Yeah, let's just go and buy T-shirts, spend money on this, and just hang around and
Let me just say this. I mean, your origin stories sound very similar to ours in different ways. So I want to ask you guys. I know for Tim and I, growing up, inventing games was a part of our childhood. It was a part of our lifestyle growing up. Did you guys invent? Was Shedball the first game you invented, or was that more of a accumulation of all the games that you invented as kids?
Do you remember one that we used to play a lot when we were very little? We used to play. Again, it was with like a small foam soccer ball, and we would take turns. Basically, one would go in front of the cipher. The cipher was the goal, basically, and you would go in goal first. And I think we called it 10 goals because you would be in goal until I had scored 10, and then we would swap, and then I would be in goal until he scored 10. And that was a lot of our after school childhood. I remember.
I think a lot of it is if it wasn't inventing sports, it was getting something that was already there and then really turning his head in that kind of organisation way. That was our thing as well. We couldn't just sit there and go, "Oh, we'll play this game," or if we had. I remember, I've long got out of my wrestling phase, but I remember as a child having all our friends would have wrestling toys. They would just sit there and play with them. I would have notepads and writing down, well, this person won this championship belt, and I still do it today with because I can't just have I'll just have a game. So I need to get a spreadsheet out.
Any excuse to bust out a spreadsheet.
I'll go all over
yes. Yes.
It's weird because I've got that same sort of enthusiasm, but I've not got the patience to do that side of it, and so I'm very glad that he's there to do that.
This is the exact same thing. I'm the spreadsheet guy.
It was amazing.
That's good stuff. Yeah, some of Tim and so one of our more infamous games is we actually with two of our best friends, Blake and TJ, growing up, we created a game where our ball was actually their little sister's stuffed animal. And so it's like,
it was the perfect. I mean, it wasn't out of spite. I mean, it was the perfect size, weight. Yeah,
it was the only one that would have worked for the game we created. So it's like, you know what? I'm sorry, little sister. We're gonna have to take this ball from now on. Like, it's our ball. And so Bobby ball. She's in her 20s now, and she's still will never forgive us for that. But in my mind, it was worth it. I mean, it was worth it for the game. So.
You have to make sacrifices.
Resources you have available to you. So.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about the history. Tell us about the great players, the Hall of Famers, the Shedballers.
We only had one official season, I think.
One season of a league played. Yeah.
Spread over many years.
Well, I think it started. It would have started maybe that during sort of 2010-11.
Yeah.
And then we finished it, I think, in 2015.
Something like that, yeah.
We sort of finally a big gap.
Got it finished. The person who won it was Liam Stanners. What was his nickname? Stanners?
His nickname was just Stanners. Yeah.
Stanners.
We had our nicknames on the back of our shirts, and some of them were just like Liam's one was just a sort of a play on his surname.
Yeah.
He was. Yeah, I think he was the only one as well. I think we all played soccer growing up. I think he was the only one who sort of kept going and played more into adulthood, when the rest of us didn't. So
and I think
a little bit of advantage there.
An advantage for him as well was the fact that he was pretty good with both feet. And we have a rule. One of the rules in our sport was if you kick the ball in with your non-dominant foot, you got 2 points instead of 1.
Great rule.
So
that is a great rule.
It was a pretty good rule. And some of us tried doing that, and it gives you a bit of element of risk. And if you're a bit behind, you think, I can get right back in it with this, doing this. And he was left-footed, which is a bit more unusual. So it kind of changed the dynamic, I think, of obviously how you kick the ball in from different parts of the garden or the arena. But he was good with his right foot as well. So he was quite comfortable hitting it with his sort of non-dominant foot, but it was almost as good as some of our dominant foot. So
from what I'm hearing, Liam was kind of the cheat code. I mean, because he had he already had a little ambidextrous here. So I mean, that's a great player to have.
Put it this way, if we had an international tournament, he'd be the first name on the team sheet, and then
Well, I'm thinking I haven't checked the website yet, but I think the Stanners jerseys just sold out purely from the American audience that's watching this right now. I kind of want a Stanners jersey.
Well.
I mean, speaking of the shirts, the Shedball shirt, European Shedball shirt is in the background there.
Yeah, that's more of a league association one. One of our members, Rob, he came up with the idea of creating a sort of logo for Shedball and basing it on the Major League Baseball, Major League Shedball. You can see it's kind of a bit faded now, but that white bit there is pretty much the shape of the shed. There's someone trying to kick a ball into it.
Also, didn't he create a version as well for your what on your side of the pond you'd call a bachelor party, or we call a stag party in this country?
Oh yeah,
that was one of the things that he did, because that was all of the players in the league were at the stag do.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Rob planned as a surprise was he came over to our house and he drew the exact dimensions of the shed onto like a bed sheet and then cut a hole in it the same size.
Yeah.
Because his bachelor party was a pub crawl through London. And we found an area where we sort of could play next to a pub, and he busted the sheet out, and we had two people holding it, and we had a ball, and we had a couple of sort of impromptu games
No
of
way.
car park in London.
All dressed in like English dapper chap tweed, black caps, all the rest of it.
Looking like we were in Peaky Blinders, you know?
I think anywhere else would be look weird, but London it seems to just okay.
Yeah,
it's just gentlemen playing with a ball with as you do outside the pub.
Oh, that's great.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I think there's a few people on the stag do who didn't really know what it was. I don't think, but then they soon found out. And I think it's one of them things where, because it was on my Facebook and social media a little bit there, and it's something which I've always talked to people about. I think I mentioned it when I was at university one time as well, and within like a couple of weeks, there was people coming up to me and saying, "So I've watched all these videos."
I had the same thing at university as well.
Yeah,
because I played on the American football team at my university, and I definitely had a couple of my teammates come up to me at a party once and be like, "We saw you. We could watch your Shedball videos all weekend." That was strange.
It's great the legacy through the years. I mean, you're talking about the newcomers to the game at the stag party. You know, you've got the old timers. And one of our, Shedball players from the first years, David Hopper, he's now living in Tennessee. I mean, he was so excited to watch this interview, but he's been tracking the new Shedball tournament, American Shedball, coming back in just a few days. And he commented on our YouTube videos. He's like, I don't know any of the current players anymore. He feels like he needs to do a fantasy Shedball league just to catch back up, with what's going on in the modern league. The fan base in Europe, the Shedball fan base, how do they view American Shedball?
Without sounding into I think it's almost a bit like a throwback to the years gone by when a lot of people who in the UK or in Europe wouldn't know much about American football and vice versa.
Sure.
It's still finding its way to break in, I think. Probably like a few years ago when the NFL was over here, it was quite a cool niche. It was just a few people randomly staying up till 3 a.m. And if you're kind of a part of a little club, whereas now there's so many people know about American football and
it's like games at Wembley Stadium every year.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But so we're in that kind of cool club who stay up later watching it and a bit bleary-eyed the next morning, but we caught it, so it's fine.
Little clubs of American Shedball popping up in sheds across the country.
That's a good thing, that's something that we've always said about being NFL fans in the UK, is that it does make you feel like you're part of an exclusive club, and this is it's even more exclusive. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
There is nothing more exclusive.
I believe both of us have on our resumes inventor of Shedball, and I have actually had it asked to me in multiple job interviews, what is Shedball, and I've had to explain it in job interviews before.
The best one I've had was years and years ago, I got quite far in an interview for the NFL Europe office, and I got to like the second or third interview in. No way. Gone really well. It's all okay. And the last question he asked was, "What is Shedball?" So I'm sitting there trying to explain to the head of NFL PR in the whole of Europe what this sport was, because I had it on my CV still. It was quite something.
It was quite a common end of interview question. And lastly, before you go, what is Shedball?
And on top of that, you also have to clarify. You have the task of clarifying the difference between American Shedball and European Shedball, which makes it, that's an
Especially with
extra
the
step
NFL, there
too.
was very much like, well, we're UK in Europe, but it's an American company, so we've got to make sure
that wasn't the thing that put the nail in the coffin.
They got invited back many times to sort of help out afterwards, so it's not like they banished me for for Shedball activity. So yeah,
I would have viewed it as a major asset if I was interviewing you. So
probably because I spoke about it for 15 minutes and did a PowerPoint presentation. That's the reason why I didn't get the job.
This has been more than I could have ever hoped for it to be. We are certainly brothers, Shedball brothers, and always will be. So really appreciate your time today.
No, thank you. Yeah, you've inspired us. I think to hopefully we can try and get something back together with our version of Shedball, and hopefully that will come sometime soon. But looking forward to seeing the return of the American Shedball as well.
We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.